I think we're on the right side of the issue. This issue is multifaceted. Everybody's aware of the Roe versus Wade the indications, but one thing I hope isn't overlooked is something that I think many of us feel passionate about, is that the 10th Amendment reflects on states' rights. And the Constitution reflects very clearly the state should have the rights to be able to make policy like this. And I actually believe the Supreme Court got that right, and I'm glad to see that actually we as state legislators will have the responsibility to make these decisions. As you're well aware, a few years ago, we put in place a trigger bill. And that trigger bill was sponsored by Senator McKay and Representative Lisenby. And again, with great respect to life, I believe as an American, and we need to protect the life of all the not only the unborn, but everyone. We need to be respectful for life. And hopefully, and I believe that's what the Supreme Court has done today. And as we look back, and a couple of years ago, we actually anticipated this day.
It's a monumental day for a lot of people, for a lot of reasons. 50 years ago, the Supreme Court created the ability for abortions to be conducted in the state of Utah, despite the fact that it was against the law. Today, the Supreme Court restored that power to the state of Utah. I'm very grateful for a Supreme Court who recognizes the state's abilities to govern themselves. See, if you look across America and you look at every subject matter, we have different laws throughout this country for different reasons, for different regional factions, on just about every single topic. And this will be no different. In 2020, when we instituted, when the bill passed, Senate Bill 174, many asked us if this was just a message bill. In fact, I think Governor Herbert even said at the time that we didn't foresee a time, and I agree with him, we didn't necessarily foresee a time, but we wanted to put a pin in the place again and restate where Utah was on the abortion issue as it was being questioned throughout the United States. Today, that restoration, and fortunately, we have in place Senate Bill 174, which, providing an opinion from our General Counsel, will go into effect immediately at that point. And when it goes into effect, it will end elective abortions in the state of Utah and do a lot to preserve the health and safety of the mother and baby, and at the same time, protect those who are victims of rape and incest in the state of Utah. There are a lot of policy reasons behind doing what we did, and there is a nation that is divided on this issue specifically. And if you look at polling data, you'll see that the bill that we have in the state of Utah represents a majority of support, and the support from a majority of people from the state of Utah.
This is an important day for Utah. It's an important day for our future unborn brothers and sisters who will be given the chance for life. I want to touch a little bit. There's been a lot of questions from the media about the rape and incest exception and the police reporting requirement. So I just wanted to lay a little bit of legal framework for what we've done in Utah. And I ran HB 281 and then a follow-up to that, which allows a woman or a man who's been a victim of rape to have a second de novo hearing at the Attorney General level. That law actually allowed the AG to identify a serial rapist in Utah because he was raping women in multiple jurisdictions, and as they reported those rapes, they were able to identify a pattern. So it's a very important law, and I want to reassure the women and men of Utah that we are mindful, that we are concerned, and that we want them to have the justice that they need and deserve. So we will continue to support that legal framework that protects women, families, and children in Utah, and that's what we're talking about today.
The current law, if our council agrees and verifies it, would actually make abortion's illegal except for the case of the life of the mother or rape and incest. And that's what it does. And again, that will be the law in Utah. My understanding is they're in the process of reviewing it. And we are very fortunate to have what I think are very competent, capable legal counsel in our state. And they will take the time they need. Our hope is that they do it quickly, but we aren't going to push them. We want to make sure that their review is thorough and that they come back with the right decision, which they've always done in the past. There's 104 legislators and 103 others, but I can give my opinion of it. My opinion is we have a bill that the legislature supported, we voted on, we put in place, it will be the law. My personal opinion is we ought to let it run for a period of time. There's lots of issues we're hearing, lots of ideas we're hearing, but I think all of those are rumors and perhaps scenarios that may or may not be the case. My opinion is we ought to give this bill a chance to be law and to actually find the pros and the cons, the abuse or lack of abuse, or how it works before we start tweaking it. That's my personal opinion.
If the law that you're subject to in the state that you live in sets up a framework for ways that things should work, outside money coming in is not welcome in the state of Utah in our campaigns. It's not welcome as we try and distort public policy. It's not welcome as you see, the dirty ads, the dirty campaigns, the other parts of these things. I would argue outside money in this situation wouldn't be welcome as well.
Would you propose a bill to that effect?
Sorry, what's that?
Would you propose a bill to that effect?
I have not heard it, and I am not proposing a bill at this moment. You just asked whether or not it was appropriate. I didn't feel like it was appropriate.
Are you saying that women from this state who would like to get an abortion and decide to travel to Nevada or Colorado should not be able to?
That's not what the law says right now, and I think anything to that effect or to change the law that way would require getting through the legislative process, and we'll see where that goes.
Could I?
Go ahead.
So in Utah, our legal framework around abortion has never sought to punish a woman who seeks an abortion. We have always sought to punish the provider. And I think we would maintain that. I think that would be something that the legislature would continue to maintain. So I don't think there's any contemplation that we would try to control a woman's ability to travel or to obtain an abortion elsewhere. That's certainly, if somebody wants to do that, it's a free country, and we wouldn't be the type of authoritarian government that would seek to control that. So we already expanded Medicaid for contraception. We also have passed a bill that allows access at the pharmacy level without having to go through a doctor. I think we've done a lot in Utah to go down that road. I have pushed back a little bit on some of these conversations with the consideration that government has all the responsibility in this scenario. I think we do have to put some responsibility on individuals to make wise choices for themselves. It may be a little inflammatory, but I received a text message today saying that I should seek to control men's ejaculations and not women's pregnancies, and that I clearly don't trust women enough to make choices to control their own body. And my response is, I do trust women enough to control when they allow a man to ejaculate, so inside of them, and to control that intake of semen. So that may be inflammatory, but I think as a legislature, we have the responsibility to create a legal framework that is friendly in supporting rights, but women and men have responsibility. And I think we showed that when we passed Representative Brammer's bill that was a paternal responsibility bill. That's an important piece of that. And we have said in Utah that we believe men should be responsible if they create a baby with a woman.
I think we have good statutes in place right now as we talk about sex education. I think we believe, and a lot of that should happen in the home. And parents and children should be able to talk about that together. I believe that, again, the parents should have a major role in that, and I think we've got good statute in place unless I haven't heard of an effort to try to change that. So.
Well, and that is, President, that's further evidence that our sex education is sufficient. We have one of the lowest abortion rates in the world, not just the country, not just the Intermountain West, not just as, whatever political subdivision you want to divide it down to. Utah is one of the smallest, lowest abortion rates in the world. So if you want to take that and apply it to whether or not people get it and understand it, I think we're pretty clear people understand it, and if not, there is the internet.
Okay.
I'd like to say that I believe that the legislation that we'll see going forward will be to help women in crisis pregnancies eliminate the crisis and be assisted by the community in getting through these roadblocks and to delivery. And then if they do choose to keep the child and raise the child, then assistance with that may be needed for a time. But rather than eliminating the pregnancy, which has been kind of available in the past, or is currently still available. So
Are you opening up any bill files to that end for this upcoming session, or have you yet?
I do not have
I
any.
have a bill file, there's some money that's right now is going to organizations that provide abortions, and I'm seeking to redirect that money to pregnancy resource centers, or to provide state money to pregnancy resource centers to support their vital service to women in the community.
Does that mean Planned Parenthood of Utah?
What?
Is that Planned Parenthood, money that goes to Planned Parenthood?
There are multiple organizations in the state of Utah that provide abortions.
And adoption, I think, is something that, again, we need to focus on, and I think you'll see legislation that tries to help streamline and move that process of adoption forward and make it easier and hopefully give support to the mother as they go through the process. And that, again, I'll just emphasize, I hope that doesn't get overlooked in this process. So.